Here we have a project. It's going to be a roadway project corridor. And so we have gone through and we have adjusted the center line to match, for the most part, except for the intersections, to match what needs to happen to get decent cross slopes throughout, anywhere from about 2 to 3%, trying to keep it above 2 and really probably less than 4 as a cross slope. So most of them are 2 to 3%, and then they've all been transitioned to be attached to the existing lip of gutter. So we're done with the center line, and the first thing we want to do is we want to work on the center line of the road, get it done, and then attach it to the existing lip of gutter, which is done. And now it's time to go back and apply some other techniques, kind of similar to that, to the side streets so we can finish up our intersections. So the point on the profile of the main road, which is the long road, and the center line point at this same location on the minor road, which is a cross street, they need to be the same. Otherwise, you have this bump in the road, and it could be, a few inches, could be a foot, and of course, we don't want a big difference in grade in the middle of the intersection. So we need to make sure that as we're on the major road, that is as smooth as possible. It can kind of warp up a little bit, less than 2%, and then come back down through the intersection. That's pretty normal. So what we're going to do is start working on these side streets. And we've already done one. We've done this one right here, which is, I think it's 14th Street. And we've made the center line of this alignment, of the minor alignment, equal to 1 and a pair evenly. So we want to do that to the rest of the streets. This one's done. This one is not done, so we'll run through this example. What we want to do is we want to click that alignment, and you can see 1 and a pair is right here, and we want it to be right there at the alignment. It's going to help us lay out the roadway down, in the near future. So we want to select that alignment. We'll right click. We need to make sure that we're only selecting one alignment. We'll right click and go to properties. And in here, we're going to go to station control. We're going to select this point, this reference point from the drawing, and it's going to say warning, warning, warning. We say, okay, we know what we're doing. That's fine. It's going to go away, and we're going to use the apparent intersection, APP, to select the exact intersection between those two alignments. And we're not going to call that 0. We're going to call that 1 and a pair, so 100. And when we say OK, it's going to give us another warning. Hey, you're changing the reference point. Are you sure? Are you sure? And we say, yes, we're sure. And we say OK. And then station 100 will jump right here, which in fact it does. And we want to make sure to go down and do that to each and every one. Make sure that that center line is 1 and a pair for this direction here. So given that, we're going to start working on this intersection right here. And what we need to do is we will go to that. Let's look at the alignment. Make sure that we're good to go there. This is 15th Street. That's great. We'll go to the 15th Street profile. We want to make sure we do a little bit of bookkeeping here. We want to click on the existing ground. We need to make sure we're only selecting one thing. So under profile properties, it's just going to say surface 29, which doesn't mean anything to us. So you want to say 15th Street OG, and I'm gonna do that uppercase, OGCL, original ground center line, just to give it a name there. Now we know, based on what we just did, that this is the center line of Mulberry right here at 1 and a pair. We know that because we just set it at 1 and a pair in that previous example. What I want to do now is I want to go to profiles and create profile by layout. We'll select anywhere in the grid in the profile view. It asks us what we're going to be drawing, and this is going to be 15th street FGCL. Defaults, we say okay. And then we're going to use this button right here for tangents. And what I'm going to do is, for right now, I want to go kind of back here. I'm going to go somewhere here, doesn't matter where. I'm going to go somewhere on the 0. That's where it's going to be. It's going to be somewhere here, and I'm just literally just clicking away. We're going to be adjusting these in just a second. And that's the basic shape of the profile of the side streets. Remember, Mulberry is the main street, and these side streets butt to it, and those are all stop control. So we want the smoothness to really be on Mulberry and not the other streets so much. So now what we'll do is the center line of this street has to be the same center line as Mulberry on 15th Street. So let's see, Mulberry profile. Mulberry profile. This is 14th Street. This is 15th Street. And so if we take this guy right here and we move it to the apparent intersection of the yellow and the purple, that is the elevation of the center line of Mulberry. And we need to match that center line to the 15th Street profile at Station 100. And that elevation is 200.05. So we need to remember what that is, 200.05. And we'll go back to 15th Street, and this needs to be 200.05 right here. And in fact, it's 200.10. Well, we can get it exact by using this button right here. We'll double click inside here, 200.05. And now that's set. I'm going to close that for right now. We've got a little bit of work to do on it. The other thing we want to do is we want to kind of get this thing squared away as best as possible. And we'll close that guy. And we're going to draw a feature line just to kind of help us out, just temporarily, from the end point of here somewhere. Oh, and I need to make sure that I'm getting the feature line and not the 2D line work. So it's 199.46, and we're going to come across, we're going to accept that, we're going to come across, and we're going to grab another endpoint here, and that is a grade. I'm going to do elevation. It's 199.51. So now I have this feature line that comes across here, and I need to kind of know where this point is right here. So what I can do to help me out is I can select that feature line and put a point elevation using the apparent intersection of these two lines. And it's not doing it. Let me try intersection here. What's going on? Oh, I'm grabbing the wrong location here. I need the intersection. So I need the APP of these two lines, and for some reason it's not. Okay, and I'm going to do the APP. Here we go. Now it's snapping to it. And it's 199.48. That's my elevation. When I rest on there, the lower right hand corner in your coordinates shows 199.48. And the distance is approximately from here, and I'm just going to say approximately, to here. Let's say we're going to call it 22 feet, 199.48. At 22 feet, 199.48. So I'm going to draw a line straight down, offset this 22 feet, and That's where this guy needs to be, somewhere on this line. And it needs to be at 199.48. So that's getting pretty flat across the intersection. So this one might dip down, we're not exactly sure. Oh, we also need to know which is left and which is right here. Very important. So since these intersections, I'm gonna freeze. That's on layer 0. So these go from left to right. So the left-hand side is the westerly side, the southwesterly side. That's what we're looking for. I just want to make sure of that. So it's 199.48 here. We may be lifting up this intersection just a little bit to get it to drain a little nicer once we're done. So once we get this done, then we're going to go back and start adjusting maybe the center line just a little bit, because we want to make sure that the intersections have plenty of drainage, plenty of slope. And then the other thing that we want to make sure of is that our work in the profile goes across and is perpendicular to the center line and to the other side. This is the limits of the grind and of the work that we're going to be doing here. So with that, I want to find a distance, an approximate distance from the center line to this line. And we're just going to call it 39 feet right here. So we'll go back to the profile for 15th Street. And we're going to go off 39 for an offset. And this is where the center line needs to end. Right here. In fact, it needs to end right at this apparent intersection. It needs to come back to existing ground at this location, because this is the tie-in point. So now we're getting pretty close. We said that the elevation that we were originally going to shoot for here on this line here is 199.48. That's the elevation of that guy right there, 199.48. And in fact, just to kind of keep things clean, I'm going to get rid of that one. So there's only one, 199.48. So at the edge of the traveled way, we need to be at 199.48, and we're 199.28 right now. So we're gonna lift this guy up probably quite a ways here. 199.48. I want to be down 199.56. 51. We're almost there. Oh, we want to grab that center one. And 50. So 2 more hundreds. So we want to be exact on this one. What we can do is we can right click here and go to the geometry and just literally key it in at 199.48, and then it's exact there. And that's it there. It becomes, well, it's not too awful flat. That's actually not too bad. So that's a decent tie-in on this side, and we need to do the same thing with this side. So we'll go back to our plan view. We can get rid of some of this other line work that we don't necessarily need anymore. We're going to go back to the feature lines, create a feature line, temporary. We need to make sure that we grab the magenta line with the end of O snap and select its surface, or its elevation, and then do the same thing over here and select its elevation. And we'll come back to here, grab it here, and we'll put that elevation point right at the apparent intersection of these two lines, and it's a 199.49. Then while we're here, we're going to take the farthest back return, and it's probably here, and we'll go perpendicular to, let's go the center line, and then we could go straight across, but I know it's going to be basically the same. So we have two dimensions to grab here. This is where the surface is going to, or the profile is going to tie into the existing, and this is where it's going to go down and then grade break back up to this point. So we need both of those dimensions. So if I take a distance, and it just approximately, it doesn't have to be perfect, from here to there, that's 22. And again, from here to here is 39. So 22 and 39 is what we're looking for. So we'll take it off the center and we'll say offset 22 and offset 39. And these are where those grades need to go. Now I need to go back and get this grade again. I forgot to write it down, but it's no big deal. Just right here. You rest in there, and it's 199.49, and I'm looking down in this area, right down here, 199.49. So we'll go back up to the profile, and where we want to be with this is we want to be on this line. We're going to use the nearest command, 199.49, and we want this one to be at the apparent intersection of these two. So now we can set this to 199.49 by going to the geometry and go in that spreadsheet and looking at right here, 199.49, closing it, and this is looking very, very clean. And we're basically done with this one. We can check all of our values here all the way through, but they seem to match. The only ones that are wild are these ones that basically tie into existing. We don't have any control over those. And if it gets too steep here, we may have to come back farther onto the existing. If this was like 3 and 4% or something like that, we may come back to the existing and maybe come back, grind back a little bit farther for a little bit smoother transition. With this, I don't think it's all that necessary. These are stop conditions, so they're going to be stopped anyway and going very slow through these. So they're not a big thing. So we'll go to the next one. And again, we've already set our alignment. So I'm gonna draw just a line at the center line, and it needs to be a line straight down. I'm going to use this for my offsets. And I think it's going to be the same, 22 and 39. But we'll go back to the next intersection, and we will perform that. But before we do, I think maybe we should do a quick copy here and keep, that's 15th, this is 16th. So we have to make sure that we do our bookkeeping with these to make sure that we're staying organized here. And this is 16th. So we'll do one more of these. We'll do the 16th one kind of the same way. So the alignment is there. We need to go to the mainline profile, the Mulberry profile, and look at its centerline profile at 16th Street. So here's 16th Street. You can see that the blue line is not, or the arrowhead is not on the purple line. We're going to extend down this line, and then we're going to move this guy. And by the way, wherever you move this, you see that station and the elevation changes. So it's parametric. And so if we just place it right here, that tells us that it's 199.02. automatically. We don't have to recalculate anything. It's basically 199.02. So that's what our center line of our 16th Street has to be. So we go to 16th Street, we say it's going to be a 199.02. If you want to, you can just put some notes in here and just use these as you need to. Put little notes in here. Let's go 10. So the center line has to be 199.02. Again, we're going to draw that finished ground profile. I'm going to create it by layout. Grab the profile view. This is going to be 16th Street FGCL, finished ground center line. Default. We're going to draw those points that we had before, just willy-nilly. Doesn't matter where. I'm going to put this one right on the line because I know it's going to be at that location. And it's going to look something like this, but we don't exactly know. So once again, these are all basic streets, so they should be, at this point, they should be pretty standard except for the tie-in location. So the tie-in location here is going to be, it's either going to be here, we'll look at it perpendicular to the center line, and then bring that straight across. And that's probably a decent tie-in point. And then the same thing here, but we're going to use a feature line for that because we need that elevation. So it's a temporary feature line. We use the end point of that guy, accept its elevation, and the end point of that guy and accept its elevation. Then we go back through, we'll select that, and we'll put an elevation point right at the intersection, APP, apparent intersection of that guy, and it's 198.5 is what that elevation is. Now the distance, we'll take a quick distance, just close, doesn't need to be exact. Here to here is probably 22. Yep, we're going to just call it an even 22, and we're going to call this point back here. We're just going to go be approximate, even station. 56, 22 and 56 is what we need to be. So we go back to our profile here. We say off 22 to the left and 56 from the center line out. Those are our two tie-in points. We need to go back to that feature line and again grab that elevation. It is 198.5. So we go back to the profile and we're going to make a copy here just to demonstrate. This has to be a 198.5 as starters. We're going to try that. We do know that this elevation right here, this location, needs to be on this line, and we know that this elevation needs to be the apparent intersection of that line and the existing ground. So that's kind of where we're seeing it there. And then we're going to set this at 198.5 and see how that looks. Well, again, we can do that exactly by going to the geometry, grabbing that spreadsheet, and this needs to be a 198.5. And we'll see how that looks. And actually, that looks really well. And then we'll do the same thing with the other side. So again, we're at 16th Street. You go back and forth a lot with this scenario. This is going to be a shorter return, so it's going to be, we're going to do perpendicular to here. And then if you want to check these things, if you have different returns, you want to go perpendicular to here and pick the farthest one back. For this particular purpose, they're pretty close. They're probably within a half a foot to a foot of one another. So we don't get too excited about that. Yeah, 3100s. So it doesn't really matter because we're just going to take a basic distance and and round it to the nearest foot for that. We're going to also do the feature line, temporary feature line, from the end point of this arc, accept its elevation, go down to the end of this arc and accept its elevation. And we're going to put that elevation point right where those two meet. APP, and it's right there. It's 198.43. So now we take a couple of distances. I'm going to stick an elevation out here of 198.43. And you can do this and just erase them. Scale, say 50, make it big so I can see it. And just take a couple of distances, rough distances. One to here, it's 22. We're going to call it 22 even. And this one we're going to call probably like 39 somewhere. Just pick somewhere here. And we're going to call it 39. So 22 and 39. And that's what that previous one was. So we go here and we say offset 22 from the center back and 39 from the center all the way back. And those are those two locations. So again, I can go to the nearest, I don't care where it's at. And this one needs to be at the apparent intersection of these two lines. Then I need to set this elevation, and that elevation is 198.43. Once I'm done with that, I'll just erase that. But what we can do is go right click, geometry, get that spreadsheet, 198.43, 43, and that looks really good. Now I'm done with this. It's a 198.02. It says 023. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of clean that up a little bit. Should be a one. Is it a 199? 199.02. So we'll go 02 even. And we're also going to clean up these stationings here in just a bit. So basically this road's done. And when these get done, you're basically, this is 198.5, this is good. These are kind of checks, 199.02, that's good. We can erase these guys, and we can basically erase these guys too. We don't need that line work in there. And then we go back to this, we're already done with this, we can get rid of this. We can get rid of these guys. These are all temporary in order to get us the information that we need. So basically that intersection's done, and we can continue down the road with this scenario building these intersections. One of the things that I do want to do is you see 3 significant figures, and I don't really care for that. It should not really be that. What we can do is we can click on any one of these, right click, and we'll go to edit labels, and those are grade breaks. We're going to change this style, and we'll select this. It's already checked to edit current, so if I just select this button, it goes right into edit current. And I need the PVIE, the elevation element is the one that's incorrect on the right hand side. It's the 3 significant figures, and we only want 2. So we'll go inside the editor and grab that elevation, and we're going to bring it to 2 significant figures. When we do that, this has to be highlighted. The choices need to be what you want, and then you overwrite it by clicking this button. And that P3 is going to jump to a P2, which it does. We say OK, we'll say OK, and we say OK here, and we say OK, and then the whole drawing is fixed all in one. So that's how to do the side ones after the center line is done. Now it's ready basically to start the transitions through all of these intersections. We may have to pick some of these up a little bit to kind of ease through these. These are not bad at all because they both kind of lead up to it. We may want to lift this one up just a little bit just to be a little closer to 236, and ease this intersection, but technically we really don't have to. It's not that big a deal. So anyway, that's how you do the side street alignments and profiles.